Hi, my name is Mateusz, and today I would like to tell you why locations are crucial for successful construction planning. We will start from some super easy example just to show the idea, and then we will move on to a little bit more complicated cases. So let's get started. Let's start in the very beginning, so with the Gantt chart. As you probably know, Gantt chart is one-dimensional, so there's no possibility to allocate any more than one location per each task. Therefore, if you have a 10-story building, you need to create 10 separate tasks per each level of the building. And this will be our simple example. Our project will comprise of 2 tasks, painting and cleaning afterwards. So this is our schedule. As you can see, we do painting, which takes 4 days per each of 10 floors or locations. And then we have, after the painting, we have cleaning, which takes 3 days per each location. And of course, cleaning starts after the painting finishes per each location. What you probably noticed immediately, that it's something wrong with the schedule, right? Because our cleaning finishes earlier than the painting, and this is probably not what we would like to achieve. In this case, it's super easy to notice, but for instance, if we go to the more advanced project, that might be difficult to catch on the first view, and it might escape our attention and just stay there and cause problems on site. Let's get back to our schedule. What I could do now, I could probably add a series of another dependencies between each tasks or on each floor, which could probably take me another decent amount of time. So how can we do it better? Let's start from transforming the schedule to Tactplan. By the way, I've made a separate video about importing Gantt charts to Tactplan, so if you would like to see it, just search it on our YouTube channel. After importing the schedule, I can go to Flowline view, and what I immediately see is that our assumptions were right, because we have some collisions in our schedule. As you can see, we have our tasks presented not only across the time on the horizontal axis, but also across the levels, our locations on our project. And then immediately we can notice the place where the collision persists. So it's much easier when we have this kind of view to identify potential bottlenecks, idle time, not orchestrated nor not rhythmic works that are planned and maybe they are suboptimal for our schedule and need being improved. Just to have a look back in our Gantt chart, this is not such easy visible in this view, and I personally prefer way more this way of analyzing the schedules than just trying to identify those problems, for instance, in some more complicated Gantt charts. Okay, what can we do even more here? Let's start from the scratch and let's create the schedule from the beginning. In my new schedule, I've represented my 10 floors as 10 separate locations in the locations view and created 2 tasks for painting and cleaning, which are connected with the standard finish start connection. And that only allows me to see, for instance, this. As you can see in Takt-Time view, I can have my timeline and my locations on the board, and I have my all tasks distributed across, which are in perfect order, and they respect the finish start connection per each location, because that is the current dependency setting. Let's have a look to the flow line for a second, and this is how it is. The system by default tries to make as much continuous work as it's possible. Therefore, we have painting and cleaning continues, this small gap is the result that this is the latest time that cleaning can start without influencing the finishing date. Of course, we can change it and we can switch off the paste, and then it's a little bit more interrupted work. That's how it would look like in the schedule from Gantt. Because if we just add the finish start dependencies between each of those pairs of tasks, then we will have uneven and balanced workflow, and the cleaners will need to wait every 1 day per 3 days of their work to start another task. We can avoid this by just switching on paste rhythm, and we see how late we can let them in just to finish it in optimal way. And that would be this simple example showing why it's worth using this kind of views and location-based scheduling methodologies to plan our works and to avoid any collisions or not optimal workflow. But how we can use this knowledge from this simple example and make it working on some bigger, more real-life schedules and scenarios. Let's start another schedule. So this is the example of how location-based structure could look like on a typical office building. We have a couple of levels of the location precision. For instance, buildings, floors. Floor can be divided on some other sub areas within the floor, for instance, leasing areas or residential areas for residential buildings. Then we have corridors and communications and technical rooms, because there will be slightly different type of work conducted on those three. We can say that we have 3 different swim lanes for the works, and this is why we would like to represent it here. For the building, we have also, for instance, façade, but I would prefer not to divide façade for floors, because that makes not too much sense. Façade is rather being conducted by sides and the surfaces. So we have north, east, south, and west part of the facade. We can also introduce some vertical locations, for instance, staircases, lift shafts, or installation shafts. They are located across the building vertically. So also, like for facade, we would avoid dividing them for floors, because that would be a little bit awkward and not as the works will be conducted. For instance, painting of the staircase will be probably conducted on the multiple floors at the same time. What is also useful for communication, like corridors and communication on the floors, or staircases and lift shafts, that if we have them separated, we can monitor not only the works that being conducted on their location, but also we can monitor when those locations are occupied. Therefore, no other communication, no other deliveries can be conducted via those, for instance, staircases. That's very useful for planning other types of works in other areas. A part of the building itself, we have also external area where we have our roads, sidewalks, and green areas that we can also divide and conduct. I have also added a couple of virtual locations just to show you that we may need some place for activities which are not directly related with our construction site. They are not happening on the construction site, but still we would like to maybe show them in our schedule and maybe add some dependencies so they interact with our activities performed on our construction site. But about activities, dependencies, and other components of properly made location-based schedule, I will tell you in another video. That would be it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.